Doc, who may be here, is one of our important community partners over there. Hello. In that regard, we also have a federal POPS court, which allows nonviolent, and I emphasize nonviolent drug offenders, potential alternative paths to incarceration. There are also a number of services for victims and victims' rights that we're involved in. But there are certainly a number of challenges with respect to violent crime prosecution and guns. So one of them is federal jurisdiction. I mean, we as the U.S. Attorney's Office only have jurisdiction, as I said, when another state is involved or there's what's called interstate commerce. So that's a limitation in certain cases. And there are also challenges prosecuting juveniles, and juvenile crime is an ever-increasing problem, and the federal policy limits our ability to prosecute juveniles if there's a state system that either provides rehabilitation or a path for prosecution. And then under the state system, oftentimes juvenile defendants are released back into the streets, so that's certainly a problem. I'm going to pass this on in a moment to my colleague, Mr. Semper, to talk a little bit more about violent crime prosecution initiatives and the challenges. But let me end up simply by saying that for us, communication is really the key. I mean, we need to have a dialogue with you and with others in the community. People need to feel comfortable reporting crime. They need to feel comfortable cooperating with law enforcement, because our job in law enforcement, as I started out by saying, is to represent all of you. I mean, ultimately, we are public servants, and you are those we are here to represent. With that,
hi, I'm Jamel Semper. I'm the deputy of the criminal division, and I'm one of the leaders of our violent crime program. As the U.S. Attorney pointed out, a lot of what we do, a lot of our success that we're able to attain is really based on the partnerships that we have with our local and federal partners. We really worked intimately with the city of Newark, the Newark Police Department specifically, and a lot of that is born out of because of the great reform that was done with the consent decree. And so we really try to identify the drivers of violence. And what do I mean by that? We look to areas where we are seeing a surge, an uptick in shootings, an uptick in criminal activity, and we try to identify what we can do, what resources we can allocate to those areas to really help our most important customer, and that is you. I tell my lawyers we are in a service business, and we have to attend to the needs of the people we serve. And one of the important reasons why we came out here tonight is because it's one thing for you to read about some of the work that we do. It's another thing for us to be here, hear from you, and respond to your needs. It's a big part of any success that we've had, and I think it will be a part of the success we will have in the future. As the U.S. Attorney pointed out, we are most effective in areas where we are able to do large-scale criminal investigations involving conspiracy. We've taken out some of the larger criminal networks that have existed within the city within the last several years, whether that be the Grape Street Crips or other organizations that you might have heard of. But I recognize that with all of those successes come new challenges. And so we work in a business where our work is never really over. There's always an emerging threat. And so that's why we want to come and be around you to let you know that we are attentive to these issues. We want to be responsive to your needs. And we're looking forward to having this dialogue. And we hope that this is one of many dialogues in this area. Thank you.
All right. At this time, we're at that point where we want to hear from the community. And there are so many community organizations and so many supporters and believers of Newark that are present tonight. I also want to acknowledge our council members, the councilman of the South Ward, Councilman Pat Council. Can we give him a warm hand clap tonight? Councilwoman at large, and that's so appropriate because she's all over. Councilwoman Reverend Louise Scott Roundtree. And so now we want to get to why we are here tonight. I contacted a few persons that are very dear to me and that are doing, marvelous work in the community. One of the first persons I contacted, I referred to him as Uncle Larry Ham. I contacted Uncle Larry and said, I need your support. And when we were putting this together, I said, now, if we're going to have Uncle Larry Ham, we can't have it on a Monday because he's going to be at your office on Monday nights. He's going to be protesting in front of the federal building. And he says, Pastor, nephew, I'm on board. And he's a new grandfather, so it's hard pulling him away from being a grandfather, but he was willing to come tonight, and the People's Organization for Progress are here tonight. Let's give God praise for them. Amen. And then I contacted one of my own members of the NAACP, Rick Robinson of the Criminal Justice Division of the NAACP, and I say, bro, I need you here. He says, I'm here. I'll be there. And then I contacted Director Lakeisha Uri of the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery, and then Director Kalisha Wingfield Hill, and they said, we there. We're coming, we'll be there, and our team will be there as well. So we're going to open up with questions from them, and then we will move to everybody that has assembled that has questions relative to the U.S. Attorney's Office. And so we will use this podium in the middle. And so at this time, Uncle Larry Ham, if you would come with your questions at this time, and then following him. Is Director Uri here? Did I see? She's on the way. All right. So we'll go to Rick Robinson after that of the NAACP, and then we'll work our way back to Lakeisha Uri and Director Wingfield Hill as well. So let's give it up for Uncle Larry Ham as he comes with his questions tonight.
Good evening, everybody. Power to the people. I'm so glad to be here. Pastor Williams, thank you for opening your beautiful church up for this event tonight. This is my first time here. I hope it won't be my last. But the people of the community have many concerns, and thank you, U.S. Attorney and your staff, for coming out, and thank you, Pastor, for organizing this event. The people of this community have many concerns, and I'm sure you're going to hear about all of those concerns from various persons tonight. I'm here tonight to express one concern, and that is the issue of police brutality. We want police brutality to end in our communities in Newark and across this state. And we feel that enough is not being done in this regard. A number of families, Attorney Sellinger, are here tonight who lost family members to police brutality. And I hope you will allow those families a chance to express their concerns about their particular cases to you. The People's Organization for Progress for 7 years has protested every Monday in front of the federal building at 970 Broad Street about the issue of police brutality. It has taken 7 years for me to finally see someone in person from that office. 7 years. So we would like the United States Attorney's Office for New Jersey to investigate the following cases. The murder of Carl Dorsey, who was killed here in Newark, New Jersey. The racial profiling of the Rodwell Spivey brothers. the attack on Zakai Hussein in Bridgewater, New Jersey, the murder of Major Gulia Dale III in Newton, New Jersey, the murder of Bernard Placide Jr. in Inglewood, the shooting and paralyzing of Juwan Henderson in Trenton, New Jersey, the murder of Hassani Best in Asbury Park. And while the U.S. Attorney's Office successfully convicted officers in the Earl Faison case, those officers were only convicted on conspiracy and civil rights violations. No one was held accountable for the murder of Earl Faison, who was murdered in a jail cell in Orange, New Jersey. The county prosecutor of Essex County failed to even convene a grand jury. We demand the reopening of the case of Earl Faison. We demand justice for Philip Pennell, who was 16 years old when he was shot in the back in Teaneck. Officer Gary Spath was not convicted in that case, but we demand a civil rights investigation into the murder of Philip Pennell. We demand investigations into the murder of Jameek Lowry in Patterson, Jaquil Fields in Patterson, Jerome Reed in Bridgeton, Kashad Ashford in Lyndhurst, Abdul Kamal in Irvington, Jaqui Graham in East Orange, Basir Farrell, who was killed right here in the South Ward of Newark, Rashid Fuquan Moore, who was killed on 14th Street in Newark, Randy Weaver, who was left to bleed to death, and 14-year-old Radaz Hearns, who was shot 7 times in the back in Trenton, New Jersey. We demand civil rights investigations into these cases. And we demand the establishment of a police review board with subpoena power. Attorney, you referred earlier to the investigation of the Justice Department into the Newark Police. And there were 4 areas of recommendation. And one of those areas was civilian oversight of the police. The mayor of this city attempted to establish a police review board. And the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge number 12, went into Superior Court and stopped it. So we can't have a police review board with subpoena power. If the police review board does not have subpoena power, it does not have any enforcement authority. So we need action on the issue of police brutality. Attorney, in your opening remark, you referred to the conviction just yesterday of the mass murderer, the racist white supremacist who murdered 10 people in the supermarket in Buffalo. But the New Jersey Department of Homeland Security has said the greatest threat to public safety in New Jersey is white domestic terrorist racist organizations. We want to know what the U.S. Department of Justice is going to do about these white supremacists here in New Jersey. It has also been revealed with regard to these white supremacists that they have infiltrated law enforcement at all levels, from the FBI to the state police to the local police. They have infiltrated law enforcement. They have infiltrated the military. In fact, the Secretary of Defense, Austin, has said there's so many white supremacists in the military, they really don't know what to do about the situation right now. We need to know what the Justice Department is going to do about the infiltration of white supremacists in our local and county and state police departments here in New Jersey. And then finally, many people are concerned about crime. And I join with those. People say, well, you only talking about police brutality, you're not talking about crime. No, we marched with many of the anti-violence organizations that are represented in this room. We want an end to crime in our community. But we know a lot of this crime is being driven by the flow of illegal guns and drugs into our communities. There are no poppy fields in New Jersey. There are no gun manufacturing industries and plants in Newark, New Jersey. Where are these guns coming from? And quite frankly, you probably know where they're coming from. So we want to know what is going to be done to stop the flow of illegal guns and drugs into our communities. And thank you, that concludes my remarks. Thank you very much. But before I sit down, I would like the families of victims of police brutality that are here, stand up. Those families that are here, stand up. I hope, attorney, you'll give them an opportunity to talk about what happened, the murder of their loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ham, and to the family members of victims, my deepest condolences. Let me briefly make a couple of comments. First, we would certainly agree that police brutality cannot occur. We have, as I mentioned, a couple of our cases. We have a number of pending, filed federal cases dealing with police brutality. Those are all a matter of public record. And we have resources devoted to that. And in terms of the list that you mentioned, obviously tonight we're not going to be able to get into specific cases, but I'll tell you that any allegation of brutality we want to hear and we will investigate. But what you should know is that our investigations take place in a grand jury, which is protected by secrecy. So when we charge a defendant, that becomes public, and we have a number. We've been to trial over the last several years in several police misconduct cases, so that's all public record. We have other cases that's the subject of investigation that deal with grand juries and the like, and unfortunately, that information is protected under a shield of confidentiality that we're not allowed to disclose. So what I will say is, and repeat, we do want to be advised of any instance of brutality, because that cannot occur. And we will look into any instance of brutality that is reported. And Mr. Ham, you shared your list with us earlier, and we will look into those matters that have not previously been looked into. Tonight, obviously, I can't comment on any specific case. In terms of the FBI statement of the threat posed by violent domestic terrorists and white supremacists, we spend, the FBI and we have resources devoted to those threats. Again, investigations, the means of investigations are not something that can be shared, but I can certainly commit to you that any domestic attack or threats based on race, based on religion, based on sexual orientation, or any protected class are completely unacceptable, abhorrent, inconsistent with everything that the United States stands for, and is a priority not only of the United States Attorney's Office in New Jersey, but the United States Department of Justice. As to guns and drugs are a scourge. There's no denying that. And it is a huge problem in Newark and other communities, notwithstanding the successors that law enforcement has had in reducing the number of shooting incidents, for example, versus last year and the year before, going back to 2018 and beyond. But every shooting, every act of violence is a tragedy, and drugs, and in particular fentanyl and opioids, are a huge problem as well. All I can tell you is that we have many, many lawyers who are devoted to drugs and guns and work tirelessly every single day to protect our communities. And I can tell you that in the U.S. Attorney's Office in New Jersey, everybody is hardworking, but the hardest working lawyers in our office are those that are in the areas that are addressing drugs and guns, because they're essentially on call almost 24/7. And they're working through the nights, they're working around the clock, and I can tell you that they're working hard to protect you. And all you have to do is look at the record of cases that we prosecuted over the last several years, many of which are under Mr. Semper's leadership. And significant RICO enterprises, significant gun enterprises, drug enterprises, networks of 10, 20, and more people, involving shootings, involving attacks, involving multiple incidents of violent crime. So we have a lot of energy devoted to this, a lot of resources, a lot of successes. Have we stopped it? No. And we will work every day to continue our efforts to fight that plague with every resource at our disposal. So thank you for your comments, Mr. Ham, and we are really doing our best to address these problems.
First off, I want to give your office a lot of credit for being here, because black people and Hispanic people are not used to this. That's honest. So we commend you. My name is Rick Robinson. I serve as the New Jersey State Conference NAACP Criminal Justice Chairperson, and I also serve as the chairperson for the Civilian Complaint Review Board in Newark. So first off, I'm a product of police brutality every day. My sophomore year in college, I was stopped on the way to school and back from school, and on my way to work and back from work. So I'm familiar with these grounds. The consent decree that was in place, it should be extended even more, because we have not rectified the problems that actually associate with the people in this city has been harmed. That's number one. Number two, I want to commend your office on a number of cases. The Centani case, a man was actually the landlord, and he was getting sexual favors from individual women to actually have their rent paid. That was done by them, the U.S. Attorney's Office. The Edna Mahan case, women inmates were getting raped by correction officers. That was handled by their office. So, again, we thank you, but we have a lot of problems. So, we recently had a panel discussion, and Mike is familiar with this. We had one of your attorneys was a panelist, served as a panelist with the FBI, and it was absolutely incredible. But this is the thing that actually bothers me right now: housing. Housing in Newark is a problem, not just regular housing. It's a situation regarding this. I have a person who has a Section 8 voucher, gets $1,500 from the federal government. She has 3 kids. She's by herself. She's black. What is the U.S. Attorney's Office going to do to help her because she lives in squalor? Squalor. This cannot be acceptable. No way. And I know this is a civil rights problem. So I would suggest that everybody in here indicate to your office with a strong effort that we need something to be done, because a woman with 3 kids with bugs crawling all over her 2-bedroom apartment, and there's a person that's actually getting monies from the federal government and they're doing nothing to fix her apartment, that is a crime by itself. That is unacceptable. Now, you say that there's a problem with guns and drugs and stuff like that. What is a person to do when they grow up around this? They're just fortified with this negative thoughts. They can't do anything. They're thinking like, I'm supposed to live like this. This is how it's supposed to be done. But again, this is not just 1 or 2 people. This is a lot of people. A lot. We need something to be done by your office. We really do. I want to thank Pastor. First of all, he's my pastor. So he actually called me and said, I better be here. But I also want to thank your whole team, because you had done some remarkable work. But the reason why Larry Ham just read off a whole bunch of a laundry list is because these things have been piling up and nothing has been done. And this is why we're honored that you're here today. We are. And we're very thankful. But the NAACP sees more to this. In Newark, under President Deborah Smith Gregory, and in the state, under State President Richard Smith, we want to see a task force that's going to actually have individuals participate in addressing the wrongdoings, because, as you just said, sir, you have lawyers working hard to do this. We can help. We can help. We can show you the people that are suffering, maybe they're paying $300 or $400 a month, but they live with bugs, rats, holes in the wall. These things are not actually good for a human being. And it's happening here in Newark. It is. It's happening in Newark. So we welcome you to come and do a town hall and circle around and get the confidence of the people. But this is the thing. When you get the confidence of the people, you have to produce. We are looking for you to produce. We are. And believe me, I talk to Mike all the time. And I actually thank Mike for everything he did. I mean, that situation with Edna Mahan, that was atrocious. They're raping women. And they're still doing it. All right? Our governor promised us that, we're going to close it down. It has not closed down yet. It has not. But I applaud your efforts. And actually, I think you brought like 20-something people to justice, and they're serving prison terms. That's great. That's great. You took care of the guy Santani regarding getting sexual favors for his apartments. That's great as well. But I'm quite sure you're going to hear a lot of problems from these people in Newark regarding other issues that your office can take on. And again, on behalf of the NAACP in Newark, New Jersey, under President Deborah Smith Gregory, and on behalf of the New Jersey State Conference NAACP, under State President Richard T. Smith, we thank you. But we're looking to be a partner with you. We are, because we want something to be done. Again, Pastor, you didn't tell me I was speaking today, but I'll talk to you about that later. And listen, we actually welcome you for being here. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for your comments, and we would really welcome continuing the dialogue with you on several of those topics. I know that Mike and his organization have constant interactions with the NAACP. I actually meant in my initial remarks to call out the work that you and your organization have done in connection with the Edna Mahan case, where I know you were a really strong community partner there and in other areas. So we applaud the work you're doing, and we would very much look forward to continuing a dialogue to address issues that, and investigate issues that are within the federal jurisdiction.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, Director Lakeisha Uri will come with her question at this moment, and then following her, Director Kalisha Wingfield Hill, and then we would take questions from 3 or 4 from the congregation as well.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having this forum in Town Hall tonight to be able to hear the residents and to be able to hear the people who matter that's on the grounds doing the work every day. My name is Keisha Uri, Director for the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery. Executive Director Kalisha Wingfield Hill is here sitting in the back representing Brick City Peace Collective. The Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery was created in 2020 as part of Mayor Braz J. Baraka's mission to reimagine public safety. The office addresses violent crime and trauma by providing improved access to social services, intervention programs, and approaching violence as a public health issue. So we know that we cannot arrest our way out of this issue around violence and crime in our city. And so we have a community-based approach to doing this work. And many of us have been doing this work for years without any funding, without any money, because it's passion work, because it's hard work, because it's thankless work, and because a lot of this have landed on our doorsteps where we have had family members who've been shot and killed, and sexual assault and domestic violence. And so those who are closest to the problem is closest to the solutions. And those are the people who are sitting here tonight. And so we have several community-based organizations, Newark Community Street Team, Newark Anti-Violence Coalition, our Hospital Violence Intervention Program. We heard Larry Ham speak about the police brutality. We have NAACP and several other entities that are not here but that are represented. And so we want to really talk about our systems in terms of our victims of violent crime compensation, some of the things that we ultimately have had change, but there's still changes that need to happen with our victims of violent crime compensation. And we want to make sure that the resources goes into the hands of the people that need it the most. And so how can we make sure that happens? How can we decrease the red tape to make it easier for us to be able to receive funding? All of the organizations here are ultimately now being able to get funding, but have been fighting and being in competition with each other over funding. And ultimately, the city has provided funding because we reallocated 5% of the police department's budget, and we are a clearinghouse to be able to give the money back to community-based organizations, and we're figuring out that infrastructure, but the state has funding, right? The state has money, and so how can we make sure that funding gets into the hands of the people that need it the most with the least amount of red tape possible? We have our domestic violence issues, our sexual violence, opioids. Our drug overdoses are tremendous. We have overdoses happening at a rapid rate, and we know that that's happening throughout the state. But the resources and the funding that needs to be allocated to community-based organizations and to our funders. And we want to make sure that the information is available and accessible. How do we make sure we get the information? A lot of times by the time we get it, it's late, or we are scrambling to be able to provide and get the grants. But ultimately, what can the Attorney General's office, what can the state do to be able to help us to be able to do our community-based work more effective, better, with the least amount of red tape? That's all. That's my question.
Those are great and really important questions. One of the things the Department of Justice does is administer grant programs to the community. It's a lot of money, right? And there are a lot of protections around it. There are a lot of limitations on the U.S. Attorney's Office getting involved, but we can definitely help get the information out about the process. And I know what you mean about getting it in time, because it takes a really long time to put one of these packages together and do it right and make it successful and get your partners in the room. But we would be really happy to communicate with you when this is coming. I'm happy for anyone who's interested to come talk to me afterwards. I'll give you my information, and we'll make sure that we have a free flow of information on this because it's really important to our communities.
All right, I think Director Kalisha said her questions were tied into that. And we're coming now. I think you, Ms. Felicia, said you had a question?
Yes.
We'll come to you.
Good evening,
All right.
everybody.
All right, don't. Y'all stay seated. Let's not all rush. We're coming to you, I promise. I promise.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Felicia Austin Singleton. I first would like to thank you, AG, for even responding to them, the organizations. But you were supposed to come do the residents. So I think the dignitary spots should have been put in the back, and we should have been put in the front. I also would like to thank Caroline for responding so quickly to me last night. I had seen it like about, 7, 8 o'clock last night we seen it. I seen it. And within 3 minutes, I said, Carol? I said, what? I said, I got to talk to this lady. She real quick. You know, she Johnny on the spot. But I'm going to tell you this. I'm in the house of the Lord tonight, and I'm a Christian woman. I don't care what anybody say about my mouth, but God knows my heart. I can't stand in the church and lie. But let me tell you this. You want to know what the problem is? When you come outside the FBI building and you find a 970, just look to your left. 920 Broad Street. That's our problem. Nobody's not going to say it in here, but I'm going to say it. We have a problem. Where is the mayor and the other 7 council people to greet you for your first time coming into the community? You got a house full of people. We got 2 reverends, because we're in the church, I'm going to say that, but they're council people. Okay? We need questions solved. By the way, I was on a Zoom call this afternoon with the DCR, Criminal Civil Rights for Housing. I am the housing tenant advocate for the city of Newark, but also for the state of New Jersey. I have traveled up and down these roads, even been in North Carolina. And advocates don't get recognized. You know, we don't get recognized. I was also appointed by the mayor and the council as the fair housing officer, and I attend the meetings to get my certificates and keep updated with civil or civil discrimination, our civil rights. But we can't talk about no white and black people and all this other stuff when we got people right here in our city, our own kin, that's doing us wrong. I can't blame no other white person when I have my own people standing beside me in the city doing wrong. I'm not doing that tonight. We're not doing that tonight. What we need for you to do is now go look at these illegal evictions that Governor Murphy has said is that we protected under. But the state not helping us. You know why? Because they tied into the city. And it's all politics. But I want to tell you, illegal eviction is going on right now at the Riviera Hotel. I've been emailing the council people over here. Just turn to them and see if I've been emailing them, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been emailing them for help. I even went on the DCR website. I even went on the state one. You know that one. They don't help us. So I just want to say, if you come to address us for the first time, take what we're saying. Get this tape that they say is streaming live, and go back over and look at what we're saying. Because these people have something to say. They ain't come here. Why the elected officials ain't here but 2? Hello? No, they scared because they gonna feel you're going to come after them. I'm trying to tell you, go to that waste. Go order these books. Because nobody else going to say it, but I will. I'm not going to play games. We cannot go and talk about what we're going to correct on a federal level if we ain't correcting it right here in the city first. We got to correct it here first. We got to correct what's going wrong with our own people. And then we can go up to the federal level and then address that. But if you want to address something, AG, and I mean, we just had the state AG turn twice, right? We had Plankton, and then now we got Marianne, somebody, I forgot her last name, O'Brien. They flipped too much over there. They overturned. You coming to address us, then we need your help. badly. Just not no guns, no drugs. We've been dealing with that all our life. We've been dealing with that all our life. If we don't have the lack of leadership within the city, that's not going to get under control. We can't blame the police, because who governs over the police? I'm sorry to bring this to you, but I can't talk about what happens, what you're doing to the federal level when you sit right there on 970. And you can go look right down the street. Come to the council meetings and sit in the council meetings. And on our First Amendment right, we're banned from council meetings. Isn't that against our First Amendment right? Because we stand up and say something. They don't want to hear it. I'm on Facebook. I'm going to send her all my information. I'm on Facebook. You got other advocates, Cassandra, Donna, Manira, Sheila. She came. Lisa Parker, she not here. Lord, she had knee surgery, but she not here. But let me tell you, we are at the mic constantly. Deborah Salters, and we don't get addressed. So I thank you for addressing us, but at the end of the day, if you're not going to go audit them books and see what that, they just had an article in the paper. Maybe because it ain't hit federal, you ain't see it. $190 million is gone. It's gone. They don't even know what happened to it. It's just a faint memory. Where that 190 million, maybe we can get some of them people about and stop selling to the Jews, since we want to make this a white-black thing. Stop selling to the Jews, because they going back to their little town in Lakewood, and they ain't coming back here seeing about these rats and roaches. I used to sit I'm the former housing chair of the NAACP. They haven't had one since me. They don't like the way I come across. But this is the only way I know how to come across when I'm aggravated and hostile and not being heard. We are people who want to be heard. We are people who want to be answered. I've been coming to the mic at City Hall since 2014, and I've seen things get worse and not better. So I'm going to say, Mr. A.J., if you're going to stand up and listen to us tonight, just take notes and address our issues, because I gave you a lot. You got it before you deal with that federal crossing state line stuff, because I got some stuff that cross state lines. The lies people tell on the people at the Riviera, they kidnapping babies. Or I'll send you the emails too. But the city council haven't stepped 1 foot down there and addressed the people we elected. Ain't take 1 foot down there and address these people who has been told on September 29th that they had to be out by September 30th.
All right,
does
Sister
that?
Felicia.
All right. Yeah, I got a whole list. I'll send it to you, Caroline.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's give her a hand, though. All right. Just a minute, because, and that's the thing. The U.S. attorney is trying to address.
Got you. So I'll be brief, because I talk to them
But
all
he
the
has
time.
to address what she just put forth. You don't need to hear it tonight?
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And let's
So-
keep the questions very brief. If you look behind you, there's a line going all the way out the door
Sure.
of persons that really want to address the U.S.
Okay.
attorney.
So,
All right.
so
No,
I'm,
I'm
Cas-
on my time, brother.
Right.
I'm on my time. All right.
so I'm Cassandra Dock. Everybody that don't know me, I'm Cassandra Dock. So, I'll be brief, because I've been having a relationship with this office for a long time. Caroline, we talk a lot. Thank you, Phil, for acknowledging me. I just want to briefly ask, because you talked about the $130 million that was going to be allocated for, I think you said, is it going to be for home buying? I just need to know, and Caroline, you can send me an email. Who initiated that? Where did that come from? And what banks are going to be involved? Because we could talk about, gun violence, we could talk about that all day long, and we address it at a local level. We thank you that you guys came in and helped us with the federal decree. It still needs to stay. Somebody said that earlier. Stay. Don't ever leave. Newark needs to stay under the radar. That's one. And then the second thing I want to ask you is, Joe DelGracio, before he passed from the Newark Teachers Union, put forth a suit when KIPP Charter School, and the only word I know to use right now is, I'll say illegally to me, illegally maybe stole 18th Avenue from the Newark Board of Education, which is the Newark Board of Education right now. How do I find out what's the status of that suit? Where can I find that out at? I do remember you, young man, from the state, from our from our Superior Court. So I watched you in action. So where do I find that at? And again, I'm glad you guys are here. Thanks for the money that you sent in here, because a lot of money was sent in here. A lot of money. So we're not lacking. And organizations have gotten money, so we're not lacking. You know, the young lady that spoke about it, I love her. That's my girl. Dear, I love her with all my heart. But we're not lacking, because we have done this. A lot of us have done this without money, and I'm glad that a lot of us have paved the way for organizations to now get money. So they're not lacking. They have money. We just want to see some new organizations maybe get money, because we paved the way for them too. And we're glad we did that. So again, just need to know where the $130 million, who initiated that, and because I need to kind of communicate, you know, I don't know if it's the CFB Protection Bureau, and I write them all the time. I can't even think of the name right now. I just want to see who did that. Thank you.
Thank you. So the redlining case, the $130 million. So a consent decree has been entered into between the United States and Lakeland Bank that requires Lakeland Bank to devote $13 million to a loan subsidy fund. And that fund is designed to provide deposit, you know, help people with deposits, satisfy the terms of loans and the like. And the analysis is that that $13 million loan subsidy fund should help allow $130 million, rough numbers, in lending, which is roughly the amount of money that was calculated as having not been loaned under the redlining practice. So that's that issue. In terms of the educational suit, you can reach Caroline afterwards. And what our office does is, and this goes to some of the other comments as well, we are limited by our jurisdiction. So there are matters that the U.S. Attorney's Office has jurisdiction over if it involves a federal constitutional issue or interstate commerce crossing state lines. But if it doesn't involve any aspect of federal jurisdiction, we just don't have authority over it. And but what we do have is, if you reach out to the U.S. Attorney's Office, somebody will contact any citizen and either you know, respond if it's something within our authority, or if it's not, try and be a resource to advise folks of where they can go to ascertain information or to address something that is just not something that we have authority over. Mike, do you have anything else on Lakeland?
Ask when that would be implemented. So the consent decree was entered into just 2 months ago. So the bank needs to hire an expert to do a credit needs assessment. That expert's subject to our objection. We need to approve them. After they do the credit needs assessment, then the loan subsidy fund will be provided in terms of home loans to people in Newark to purchase homes or get home equity loans. So that will not be immediate, but should happen within the next year or so.
Okay, Don. Just want to thank my family member. This is his church for letting us be here tonight.
I said all power to the people. Man, all power to the people. Hey, look, what's up? What is it, Sellinger, right? Yeah. Hey, man, my name is Africa. I don't think this conversation is going to be like what everybody said. Hey, look, 30,000 and less, like the majority of the people that live in Newark, most of them are not here. These politicians, the people that's sitting up here, they don't represent the people getting kicked out of their homes. Like when you came up here, you said something. You said the police, a small percentage of them are the one doing the bad stuff. Man, all of them suck. We're having a problem with the institution of policing in our community, the entire institution. We're not having a problem with 1 or 2 officers. You started your career in 79. That's when I was born. In 79, under a black, the first black, whatever, judge or something like that. None of that stuff mattered because we deal with class. Since 79 till now, our conditions, the residents in Newark, New Jersey, has gotten worse, worse, and worse. Nothing has changed. Our lives have now gotten better. You live in a mansion called Sunny Mead or something like that. We live down Academy Spires, where they're kicking people out. The landlords are coming in, dragging people out of their beds and taking them out the house and locking the door illegally. Those people are not in jail. They're forging documents to the United States government. We have the evidence. They're forging documents to get people tax information. They have organizations that are here spying on people to see if they're doing braiding hair, if they're making extra money so they can up their rent. The average person that lives in this community can't afford to live here. There was a report done by Rutgers. This ain't Africa saying it. The report was done by Rutgers, the Rutgers crime report, who owns Newark. And they said we don't own it. They said that the houses, the homes in our city are owned by corporations. They said none of this stuff is illegal. None of it is illegal because in 2010, laws was passed to make it legal. So when I say we don't feel like the federal government is helping us, our schools have been charterized, they've been privatized, the police are coming in front of people's houses and kidnapping their children, their sons and daughters. They're here. They're behind me. This ain't stuff I'm making up. It's not a euphemism. They're here. The Rodwell and Spivey brothers. I had to go create a podcast. We had to go to rallies to try to fight for their rights. I went to the mayor's office to speak to the mayor. They told me they had guns. They had guns in their fanny packs. The police got the recording. I didn't see the recording. I told them they're lying. You know how I know? Because I've been here my entire life. I went to Sussex Avenue, Velsburg Middle, Alexander, West Side, Essex County College, and I graduated from Keene. So I've been here my whole entire life. I know the police are corrupt. This is a banana republic. If all these people that are coming up here won't tell you the truth, won't speak for these poor people that's living here, I'm doing it. It's on record. We are not being served by the federal government. Our taxes, because I work at Amazon, I deliver packages because I refuse to work down in City Hall and anywhere else where they're going to corrupt me. They're going to make me one of them to pay my bills. I refuse with 3 degrees after walking out of prison. I refuse. I will bend over and pick cotton before I allow these people to corrupt me because that's who I am. I am sincere. And I don't know you. I never met you. But if you're sincere and you're righteous about what you're doing, yo, where's the investigation of all these people? Well, there's a brother behind me. His son was killed 2 years ago, New Year's. The police pulled up. It's on video. Bow, bow, bow. Killed him. He's dead. He's never coming back. None of those officers are locked up. I don't even think you spoke to the family. I mean, I'm guessing. But I know, like, we don't get no voice out here. So I know you ain't speak to them. And now we come here. I'm not coming here to beg you, sir, miss, sir, No, I'm coming to tell you we're tired of being oppressed. These are colonies we're living in. And none of these politicians, these churches, none of these people are serving us, the taxpayers. And when people come up here and have all this, sit up here, excuse me, sir, like this church and all of that, this shouldn't be here. You should be on the number blocks on First Street, at the buildings, at let's say the hotel, down on Martin Luther King, the Riviera. You should be talking to those people. What's going on? But we get the fake teachers, we get the fake activist groups that are getting funded by the city, by the state, to come up here and speak for me. They don't speak for me. I am a Black Panther. Black Panther means you work for your community, that we own our own institutions. We own our communities. We own the business in our communities. That's what Pantherism is. I'm not in the KKK. I don't want to go get guns and we don't have enough guns to do none of that. I just want a school where my child can go to and be a productive member of his society. Not when he turns 18, 21, because it happened to my son too. Police pulled the car over. There's a gun over there. They said everybody in the car got that gun that's outside the car. So my son, that's a college student, I was supposed to be watching him play basketball now in New York. I stayed here to tell you this. My son had to wait months. We had to go get lawyers for them to finally say we're throwing that case out. Yo, that is violence. Drug dealers are not violent. Gang members is not violence. Giving people jobs where they can afford to pay rent, That's violence. Giving them education that's worthless, that's violence. Because all of that produces the gang members. You know this. Everybody know this. I ain't making this up. But we talk around it. And we bring people in fancy suits, and they come up here like they care about me, when they don't care nothing about me or my children. The schools are corrupt. The politicians are corrupt. The economic sector is corrupt. And what are you going to do about it? You can tell them, but I got to go to my son game in Brooklyn. All power.
All right, Mr. Africa. I don't know if you guys were supposed to respond to that, but would you like to? Okay, so my name is Cynthia Hardaway. I am an attorney. I actually represent the Rodwell Spivey family, which I think Mr. Ham mentioned that case in his laundry list. I think Mr. Africa mentioned the case. Actually, they're with me now. This is the mother. This is one of the brothers that were victimized by racial profiling and excessive use of force. Now, here's my question. I understand that there's a federal consent decree that has been entered into between the federal government and the city of Newark to address these very issues that you came here tonight to ask the community about. My question is, since the 5 years that you've put this in place, this consent decree, the independent monitor, Peter Harvey, who's supposed to be monitoring it, the over $7.4 million that has been invested in this, why is it necessary for you to come here and ask these citizens about what you've already put in place to try to fix? Where is Mr. Harvey to explain to you why whatever he's doing is not working? You should be asking him, what did you do with the taxpayers' money? That's a lot of money to be given out, and then you come here with full acknowledgement and understanding that there are problems that still exist. Now, with this particular case, as I represent the family, I have written about this case to everybody, every agency, on the federal level, on the state level, on the county level, on the city level, about this case that occurred June 1st, 2021. Nobody has responded to me about this case. Now, sir, you just indicated that you were going to look into all those cases that Mr. Ham listed, and this is one of those cases. When I try to ask about this case, I'm told we can't speak about individual cases. Well, the individual cases make up the whole of this. So why would you not want to talk to Ms. Rodwell about this case, about her 4 sons who were racially profiled, locked up, one having to sit in jail for over a year until the prosecutor just woke up one morning and said, oh, we're going to downgrade this to remand court. No apology, no accountability, not one officer even suspended for a day, and we are still fighting this case. What was the purpose of the consent decree? You need to look at individual people. These people are not statistics. They're not polling. They're not auditing. They're not experts, as you mentioned before. These are people that things are happening to in real time, and they're real civil rights violations that need to be addressed. So I hope, and where is J. Kill? Stand up, J. Kill, if you could see him. Another brother who's here, because they're interested in their own lives. They want to know how come they can't walk out of their homes on a nice summer day at 1:30 p.m. and not be accosted by police officers for no good reason, no prior warning, and treated as if they were second-class citizens. This is what they want to know the answer to. They don't care about your statistics and how you seem to pat yourself on the back and tell yourself that you're doing a good job. No, that is not true. So I want you, sir, to look at this family here, who's here tonight, vested in their own interest in being good citizens and being able to flourish without being accosted and without having their lives interrupted just because somebody woke up with a racist point of view and decided that they were not worthy enough to live their own lives? Please provide the answer to those questions. And then I think that you would have a very, very good relationship and a starting point to build and do some of the things that you claim that you would like to do. How you doing, Mr. Semper? Long time no see. That's it for me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And now, yeah, we're getting to that 7:30 mark, and I see that the line has grown. Unfortunately, and maybe the U.S. Attorney will come back, but we will have to cut this off after the next two persons at 7:30.
United States Attorney, how you doing? My name is Che Coulter. I'm an independent, coming here from an independent perspective. I'm a parent of an 8th grader. So my concerns are less political and more about representation. As you've heard tonight, our representation in this 10th Congressional District and 28th Legislative District is very weak. We don't have any representation. That's why a lot of them haven't come before you today to help civically solve these problems before you have to get involved with it. I'd rather you not get involved with it, quite frankly. With that being said, two scope question. One is, with the federal kingpin statute, now that you have the criminal justice reform, what, with reference to the kingpin statute, with the new criminal justice reform, what is the best, if there's a case of it with the kingpin statute and it doesn't involve direct violence, and that person was tried and sentenced at a time during the genesis of the war on drugs, and that person is initially a political prisoner, and there's not really evidence that the person harmed another individual, primarily a conspiracy case that the person might have been away for 30 years. Do you think that that's something that, is there a new process for pardons for kingpin statute that it does not involve murder, just the conspiracy at that time? The other question is, with the National School Board Association issuing the memo to the FBI for them to surveil parents, my question is, I know that there was a huge squabble in Congress as far as the FBI not surveilling parents, but if you could, Attorney Cortez, if you could speak to that a little bit, like, where is the FBI gonna not surveil parents in the midst of that whole memo thing? There were some school boards that said they wouldn't allow their parents to be surveilled, and then there were some school boards that didn't even make any definition. So my concern is, are they gonna let Joe Biden surveil parents how the memo said? And I know Attorney General Garland came before Congress, they asked him a lot of questions, but will parents' public opinion be federally scrutinized, I guess is my question. Shouldn't that kind of federal resources go to something else instead of surveilling parents? Because I know that there's been a large discussion in Congress about it. So yeah, basically the parent investigative thing, which I think is an overreach by the federal government, and then the other part is, with the federal kingpin sentencing, if a person has done 30 years and there's no murder in their sentencing or case or evidence, is there new criteria for submitting the pardon criteria?
So I'll answer both of those.
Please, Cortez, please. I've zeroed you out.
At least I'll try. So on the surveillance piece, I gotta confess, I'm not really familiar with so sorry about that. So on the surveillance piece, not really familiar with what you're referring to. What I can say is, the FBI, our agency partner, they don't conduct things like surveillance or investigative steps without reason to do it. And so it is not something where we're, randomly surveilling really anybody without cause. That's not really within their charter of what they're, like, the FBI is pretty busy investigating what they, information that they have as active crimes. And so, it's conducting random surveillance is not really the, what the FBI, our investigative partner, does. So not really sure what on that. I hope that answers that question. Referring to the Kingpin statute and stuff like that. And in terms of, there have been in recent, the last couple of years, there have been some laws passed to, more easily, allow folks who have been in prison for a period of time, what's called compassionate release. And a lot of that can be related to health and such. And so it allows those who have been in for a period of time to seek release from the Bureau of Prisons early. So that is a law that was passed a couple of years ago with Senator Booker's support, I believe, to give another avenue of support for folks who've been incarcerated for a time, an opportunity to get out. So I hope those answer your questions.
Have you processed any in your district?
We've done. There have been, so I should say, across the country, there's been quite a bit of use of that statute over the last couple of years.
And let's just say he's agreed to stay another 10 minutes, but we got it. That's all we can do. All right, thank you so much. Listen, we're coming, ma'am. The U.S. Attorney is going to stay a little bit more time, overtime. And so he's going to stay at least another 10 minutes to 12 minutes. And so what we got to do is the questions have to be at least 1 minute so that we can try to get everybody in this line. That's the only way we can do it. That's the only way we can do it. If you can do 1 minute questions, then we can get through the line. If not, then we do have to respect this church that has opened its doors out of kindness and the fact that the man was willing to come down here. So let's do that if we can. Brother, you got it.
Okay, I'm going to be kind of brief. My name is Abdul Malik Muhammad. This is my daughter, Medina Person. Carl Dorsey was Medina's brother and my stepson. Carl Dorsey was killed New Year's Day, like one something in the morning, the year 2021 coming in. I'm just painting a quick picture for y'all. It's New Year's Eve, going into New Year's, overnight. I'm asleep. I get a phone ring. I pick up the phone. It's my stepdaughter, Medina's sister, Naima. I'm thinking she's calling to say, Dad, Happy New Year, something of that nature. She's bawling out, crying. What's wrong? What's wrong? They killed my brother. They killed my brother. I'm like, who? What happened? The Newark police killed my brother. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I'm sure you've seen the film, you've seen the video. Newark police killed Carl Dorsey. And we need to do something about that. People's Organization of Progress, I give you shout outs because y'all been with us from day one. NAACP, Urban League, all you other people, we heard nothing. And I wonder why. Is it because it was a black cop? I wonder why. So it's the ball is in your court, sir. You need to make something happen. Since we pushed for time, Medina says she'll pass, but this is what I got to deal with. My daughter crying all the time, and other things like that. So I appreciate it if you get on the ball. All right? All right.
My name is Lisa Davis. I'm a strong community activist. I am proudly with the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations, a part of the Uhuru movement. And I'm sure the Department of Justice is very familiar with the Uhuru movement, with the vicious raid, the vicious and unscrupulous, violent raid that was launched on Omali Yeshitela. And it's very important for us to understand this because we all know about Brother Malcolm, Brother Martin, Fred Hampton. We all know what happened to them. The U.S. government deliberately, the FBI, you paint such a rosy picture of the FBI. That is not the experiences of people in this audience, and I can assure you, with almost all of Black America, when it comes to the FBI and the U.S. Department of Justice. I want to first of all also say that I support many of the issues that organizations raise. Many people know me. I work very closely on these issues, police brutality, trying to support our brothers and sisters with housing and all of those things with whatever we could do. But on July 20, I want to say we want these raids to stop. On July 29th, the FBI again launched an unscrupulous attack on a black organization, a violent attack. They sent drones in their homes, they handcuffed them, pointed guns at them, and yet they were just about building up the community. And we do believe in black community control over every aspect of our life, including the police. However, I also heard them raise the issue of what happened with the shooter, the Buffalo shooter in New York, who had left an online footprint. These are not isolated incidences. They left an online footprint. The FBI and the U.S. Department of Justice did nothing. They were too busy monitoring and harassing people like Omali Yeshitela. We want these raids to stop, and I'm tying this also with the U.S. Department of Justice, because you agreed with what happened. And also just my experiences with the Attorney General's office and seeing the U.S. Department of Justice in action when the cameras and the public is not on them have been atrocious. The Attorney General's office has condoned and support, at least in New Jersey, every violent act that the police did, including telling me when I brought my case that there was nothing unconstitutional with anybody work for the state writing a false police report, lying, and calling someone the N-word. Thank you.
My name is Natasha Pannell. I am the sister of Philip Pannell. I just wanted to address everyone. I wanted to address Mr. Sullinger, and thank you for being here and listening to a share, and also to Zion Baptist Church, to the legendary living legend himself, Larry Ham, for inviting me. First off, the police are supposed to save us, not kill us. That's number one. Number two, I'm not a racist, and excuse me if this annoys anyone, but to all the white faces in here, I don't expect you all to identify with what happened to me 32 years ago. My brother was shot in the back and killed by a TNAC officer by the name of Gary Spath, who was actually let off, who said that he was in fear of his life, and that allowed him, because of qualified immunity, to get off by saying that he was in fear of his life. How can you be in fear of your life when someone's hands is up in the air? And he lied, saying on the witness stand, and he perjured himself along with his partner and said that he believed my brother was going to shoot him, was his exact words. How can you shoot someone with both your hands raised up in the air above your head? And that was proven forensically 32 years ago, and it was proven on a documentary that MSNBC just aired this past September, forensic proof that my brother's hands were up in the air. So I ask you just to say, and I wanted to add this. I was 13 when this happened to my brother. I have a 23-year-old son. And I'm not a textbook case. I'm not a study. I've lived this for 32 years. My son has endured it. So Spath didn't just kill my brother. He killed my mother. He killed my father, who died of a broken heart in 2016. He killed me 32 years ago. And he killed future generations to come, because you know why? My grandchildren is going to have to live with the fact that their father, which is my son, live with me being in depression, suffering from anxiety, suffering from all these things that one police officer was allowed to get away with. My brother Philip Pannell was not a Kyle Rittenhouse. He did not gun down several people, okay, walk past Gary Spath, who was a police officer, go to trial, because he wasn't afforded the opportunity to go to trial. My brother, if he was alive today, he would have been out of juvenile detention for having a starter's pistol, because despite what the media recorded, my brother had a starter's pistol and it could not fire. It was inoperable, but they will never tell you the truth. The MSNBC docuseries did not tell the whole truth either. So I ask you these questions, Mr. Sullinger. Why did you become the state attorney general, okay? What are you going to do differently that your counterparts or your peers have done or have not done already? Are you willing to end police brutality within the state of New Jersey? And also, if I were to write you a letter to reopen my brother's case, which surpasses the statute of limitations because it happened 32 years ago, his civil liberties were violated back then, and still to this day, it was violated. Are you willing to do that as far as address my letter or answer my letter? Are you willing to address that? Are you going to respond to my questions or no?
If you write us a letter, we will respond.
Okay, and I'm going to hold you accountable to that, to your word, to honor your word. Thank you.
Hello, how y'all doing? Hello, how y'all doing? First, I want to thank and praise Yahweh. Listen, I want to know for the last 4.5, 5 years, why Newark cops could do what they're doing, and they constantly still doing it. Not only that I became a person to come to the, city to help out with a couple of situations, meaning like, being a citizen, stand-up citizen for the community to help with what's going on in the community with homelessness, anything. I'm saying if the cops are there to protect us and help us, I want to know how, if you calling them for any reason, it could be a mental, I'm talking about people dealing with a great deal of mental illness, mental health, how is the cops, when they're called, how is it that they could address the situation the way they are, the way they've been addressing them? I had 3 different situations with Newark cops being found guilty of violating, my daughter on 3 different occasions, and every time I bring it to the forefront of the people, the head people that need to be addressing this, they all ignore the whole situation, the whole case and everything. It's like it's being hidden and pushed under the rug and everything. I don't know no other way to explain it besides it's a cover-up for everything from the beginning to the end, and it's been since 2018 up until now, which is 2022, and I'm still trying to see. I got half information all over the place, and and I want to know how this is possible when they got people signed off on it that's supposed to be, like, if he's supposed to be helping us, there is like people like with his name and stuff signed on it. So it's like, how we getting the proper help when we're not, and we got to come back and say, go get a lawyer and stuff to help you fight for something they already know that said that they're guilty of. So what are you telling me to fight for what when something is found guilty? I should be having a proper paperwork and everything and let us know what they're going to be doing for the cops that were found guilty and stuff like that. Like, how do we learn from, what we know what's going on, what the cops is, like what they found guilty and everything, how we know they're being properly situations being taken care of and everything. Because I don't got no information. I got them found 3 times found guilty with, that's it, just they found guilty.
Thank you so much. If you, as the U.S. Attorney had said, if you write them a letter, they promise to respond. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you for having me.
And this is the last one. We went another extra 10, almost 15 minutes. And so this is the last one. And we have cards that you can send the email directly to the U.S. Attorney. The brother is deferring to her at this time. He's deferring.
Sorry, brother.
No
Hey, listen,
problem.
I want to thank the brother for deferring to the mother. We're also going to write your letter, but we want you to understand that in Englewood, New Jersey, and Teaneck, New Jersey, where Natasha Pinnell lives, there's people that are in the Democratic Party that have allowed the police department to do heinous crimes to the family of Bernard Placide and the family of Philip Pinnell. If you watch the Bernard Placide Jr. tape, he was murdered in his bedroom. His civil rights were violated. This falls within your purview, and you folks should come to Englewood like you went to Patterson and like you're in Newark, okay? There's things going on all over the state. I want to tell people that the police don't have a job to protect or serve black people. They're the original runaway slave catchers. So we're asking runaway slave catchers, but being that we're free, we want all the rights and privilege that your Constitution should so-called afford us. So please do your job. Stop the slumlords here in Newark. Redlining is a problem, but gentrification is our problem. There's gentrification in Bergen County. Newark is a place that is very ripe for development, and these people are being pushed out by greedy developers that are working for unscrupulous people that don't look like us, and you know who they are. So y'all have a good night.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you all. Let's give a hand to the U.S. Attorney's Office.
me.
Let's give a hand to them.
Excuse me.
I
sorry,
told them
Pastor.
they was coming into the fire and they were willing to come into the fire. The officers have cars. We tried to send them back as well. And so thank you, Pastor Douglas Williams, so much for opening Zion Hill Baptist, for streaming this live. Thank you, residents and citizens of Newark and the state. Thank you all so much. And may the Lord be with all of you tonight. Amen. Have a
Just
good night.
real quick.
Have a good night.
Real quick, I'm Valerie Cobbert. I'm the sister of Major Guyadell III. He was a 42-year veteran, and he suffered PTSD last year, July the 4th, of all days. His wife called 911 for help. He was a United States Pentagon worker, and his wife called for help because at the height of the fireworks, he was suffering PTSD. They sent 2 officers, young officers, to go and help somebody suffering with PTSD, a mental health crisis, who had no training. However, they had use of